Part 4, do-it-yourself fiberglass longbow.
Yes.
So we're starting out cutting the riser here, and then we'll just use the bandsaw to get a rough cut before we go and do some final sanding. And we're using the rasp, and we're trying to get the right angle right here so everything lines up in the end. You want the same angle on both sides. I started with the rasp, and then realized I have this power tool here. And so you make sure that's square, and then I went to that. There's the angle I'm looking for. And then we have a stop collar on a drill bit. And then basically we're drilling in so the holes line up with the limbs. We're going to put pins and bolts in later. There's another collar on that drill bit. And that block there that's attached came with the plans from Bigham Projects. And it's a good template to go off of. So then we're just going to use the tap, and then we're going to make some threads basically. And then we'll put a steel insert in, which is how the limb is going to attach with a bolt in this spot here. Then you just want to double check the fit. So the collar just threads in nicely, and then I use one of the limb bolts to check the depth. And you can see a nut is secured on there, and that's tightened down on the collar, which allows you to tighten up that threaded insert. And then there's going to be a pin there, which lines the other part of the limb up. So everything fits well, and let's epoxy that in. Now what I did do here is I put way too much epoxy in. It came in through the middle of the hole later, and then you'll see later I had to keep working a stick inside there or a bolt inside there and wiping it off to get all of that epoxy out. So don't do what I did. Don't put too much epoxy in. And wipe off the excess epoxy with acetone, and then we'll glue in the pin as well. It's best if you can rough up the pin or any surface you're using epoxy on. It's good to rough it up. It makes more surface area so the epoxy can cure to it.
0.23, close enough to 1/4 inch.
There I'm putting a bolt in, getting all the epoxy out. I did that for several minutes. So the riser is mostly done, at least to put the limbs on. Let's get the limbs shaped, sanded out, and then ready to start bending. Then we'll do the final sanding later on. So there's a template that I cut out from the plans. And then this is the fastest way to ruin a bandsaw blade, so I'm not going to do that again. Don't cut out fiberglass with your bandsaw. Just sand it down. And then I wanted to get a sneak peek. And then that's just painter's tape on there to help keep the epoxy off. Use the same jig. Use a couple extra clamps just to make sure. That one drills all the way through. You can see there's a block on the other side to help minimize tear out on the back side of that limb. The tape helps as well. So the limb's looking pretty good. Roughly shaped. Somewhat of a tight fit to start, but then that loosened up after a few times.
Oh, yes. Nice. We have a good start. We're getting there. That's looking pretty straight. This still needs to go on a little bit more. Might need to deepen this hole on the limb.
I know, I like laughing. Make fun of my laugh in the comments. And then it's good to do some rough sandpaper on the edges. Anytime you have a sharp angled edge, It's good for your hands, and it helps minimize cracking from that spot. I've broken other bows by leaving sharp 90-degree angles.
Well, let's string it for the first time. Tip to tip, we're looking good right now. This limb is stiffer than this limb. There's less of a distance here between the string and limb, on this side. So that means we need to take a little bit of wood and fiberglass off the sides. But it feels good. Minimal stacking, so as you pull the bow back, the draw weight does not increase substantially. It just increases smoothly. Nice. So we need to tighten the string up a little bit. We need to take off some of the wood on this side. This limb's a little bit bigger than this limb. Need to match it up. Finally, looking like a bow. So now after we've sanded the limb just a little bit to try and make it identical to the other one, you can see on this black line right here, the brace height is real consistent. It's a lot closer now.
So what I did was I sanded the edge of the limb. I essentially made it thinner. And that's just a scale. You don't want to pull much over your final draw weight, which for this limb is about 50 pounds.
49 at 27, 51. That's looking perfect at my draw length. At about 27. Perfect. Oh, I want to shoot this thing. We're on the right track. Center a bow, and then I measured up 7/8 of an inch. We'll try that for the top of the riser shelf. Here's the cutout right here. So the top of the riser shelf will be about here, and then you just trace it out. But then if you look down the string is right in line with the two tips, and then the middle of the riser bisects the string perfectly. So you want the tips to line up with right where the arrow is going to go through as well. Everything nice and straight. And then we'll trace out the rest. And really you can make this how you want. All in all, pretty easy. And then from there, we'll make a nice curve here. Make that look good on both sides. Make everything nice and comfortable. Then on the top, we'll curve these, make those look good into a certain shape. I don't know, we'll see. The riser is getting close to done. Feeling better. A lot of wood taken off, a lot of mass taken off. Sanded out the end of the limbs. Just slightly rough sanded. Brace height is similar. Tiller's looking good. May need to do some minor adjustments, but about ready to shoot. Let's radius the shelf, make it nice and curved. Then the arrow's only hitting one part of the shelf. Makes it more accurate. Now let's radius this. So there's a little hump right at the point where the hump intersects here and here. This is the hickory inlay on the inside. Well, my special handle broke off. So you want the two tips to bisect the middle of the handle, and ideally right where the middle of the center of the shelf is, which will make that bow, when that arrow comes out, as a center shot. So it's coming straight down through. The arrow doesn't have to deflect and bend as much when the arrow shelf is cut to center. So basically directly straight down from the string. After I put the limb tip overlays on, it seemed to go down like 5 pounds. That's strange. That's fine. It's still legal. Legal to hunt with. It needs to be above 40 pounds. But if it's lighter shooting like that, it makes it a lot more comfortable to shoot, a lot more fun.
And after a decent amount of time, I was able to get this handle shaped pretty nice. And I really like those white and black inlays I put in there. And the handle's just real comfortable.
Let's string this thing and shoot it. Still need to put a rest on, a Velcro rest or calf hair rest right in here on the shelf. But let's shoot it. Nice. Feels pretty good. Minimal amount of hand shock. See, once you put a quiver on, everything's going to quiet down. The draw cycle feels smooth all the way back. It's a steady increase in weight and doesn't abruptly all of a sudden hammer you with a bunch of weight. Just feels smooth the whole way. Locks right into position. I may make a couple of these for some people in extremely limited quantity, but we're gonna save the finishing for another video. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna keep shooting it and keep having fun. I think this will kill an elk. This will kill an elk. Stay tuned and follow along, because next year this could be the bow, or I'm gonna make another one, and we're gonna get an elk with the bow that we made. Keep surviving.